Good morning, YouTube. So with today's video, I'm going to give you my 10 fragrances that smell and remind me of the holiday season and Christmas time. Alright, so when I'm thinking of note breakdown for Christmas, I'm thinking of sweets like plums, apples, spicy notes of nutmeg, particularly cinnamon, maybe some vanilla, some sandalwood, maybe a little bit of a smokiness. So let's just get into it right now, right? So there's going to be a mixed match of designer and niche, but first one's going to be GUERLAIN L'Homme Idéal. This one here just reminds me of Christmas. Like, there's no particular note that really is like Christmas-y, but you're getting that almond accord, and that almond is in like pretty much every GUERLAIN L'Homme Idéal fragrance out there. But like, I guess like the almond does remind me of like that nutty chord, does remind me of like chestnuts roasting by a fireplace. You know, chestnuts roasting by an open fire. Yeah, so something like that. But like the sweetness, you're also gonna get like the woody nuance as well. But there's tonka, loads of citrus in that opening. There's gonna be some orange blossom, some leather, maybe to add a little bit of a naughty Christmas. This fragrance definitely is a gentleman's fragrance. Longevity, great, 8 to 10 hours. Fragrance number 2, let's go with a niche brand, Bond No. 9's Manhattan. This, I would say, is the epitome of a Christmas fragrance out of all of the fragrances that I'm going to be mentioning, minus maybe 1 or 2. But this really is just Christmas in a bottle. There's peach, plum, there's going to be beeswax, honey, there's gingerbread. So gingerbread is synonymous with Christmas. Chocolate, sandalwood, and there's like some floral notes. Now, florals is not a Christmas thing unless it's like a, oh Lord, a poinsettia, a red poinsettia. But like I've never encountered a poinsettia in perfumery. But just like the gourmandy feel from the plum, not the peach so much, but the plum, and the sweetness from the beeswax, the honey. And those are not really Christmas notes, but the chocolate and the sandalwood, like the woodiness from the sandalwood. Chocolate can be a little bit of a Christmas feel, you know, like chocolate M&Ms and chocolate marshmallow Santa Claus or Frosty the Snowman. But it's the gingerbread that truly makes this a Christmas fragrance. This is a unisex fragrance that dives more so towards the ladies out there, but it's one that I like the smell of, just it's not something that I could personally wear. Longevity is phenomenal though. I get 9, 10, 11 plus hours. Fragrance number 3, this is not the most Christmas-like fragrance, but just the smell itself does remind me of Christmas in some ways. But FERRAGAMO's UOMO. There's cardamom, sweet notes, there's some coffee, some tiramisu. Tiramisu is not a Christmas note or a Christmas meal, dessert, whatever, like a Christmas dish at all. But there's also orange blossom, tonka bean, and sandalwood. So the sandalwood, yeah, that could be a bit of a Christmas feel. The sweetness does remind me of it, but also like that coffee. That gourmandy coffee feel kind of reminds me of Christmas morning when I was a kid, when my mother used to get her morning coffee every single day. I miss my mother quite a bit. My mother actually passed just before Christmas, so for me it's a little bit of a tough time this time of the year, but this does remind me of my mother in some ways because of that coffee. Every single morning she would get her coffee, and yeah, like the sweetness and the playfulness, it does have that Christmas feel. It's a very festive and happy fragrance. Fragrance number 4, I don't have a bottle, but it's going to be Bond, and just spoiler alert, Bond is going to be dominating this list, right? So Bond No. 9's New York Nights. This has gardenia, florals, like different types of florals, sandalwood, coffee, and caramel. So the sweetness does remind me of some sweet Christmas treats. The coffee does remind me of my mother. The florals, not really, and the sandalwood can remind me of like a Yuletime log, or just like a Christmas tree itself. But longevity is great as well, 9, 10 plus hours. Fragrance number 5 is going to be the Christmas tree in a bottle itself, Burberry's London. This really reminds a lot of people to a Christmas tree. Just like a holiday fragrance, like from American Thanksgiving all the way to Christmas itself. There's tobacco leaf, opoponax, gaiac wood, there's some cinnamon, leather, and I think like 2 or 3 other notes. This is just a very woody, tobacco-y type of scent. Like the tobacco itself is dry. So tobacco for me can be a bit of a Christmas note just because of like Frosty the Snowman's corn pop pipe, whatever it's called, right? But yeah, it does remind me of Frosty the Snowman, like the Christmas special that's so old, that so many Gen Xers, but also maybe even like millennials in like today's generation, Gen Z, have grown up on. But this is Christmas in a bottle. Longevity is 6 to 7 hours. Fragrance number 6, I don't have a bottle, but I did review this one a few years ago, and a lot of people will say that this is also a bit of a Christmassy fragrance, but Maison Martin Margiela by the Fireplace. Cloves, guyakwood, chestnut, vanilla, and Peru balsam. This really, for me, is a Christmas fragrance. Just like the Fireplace, the smokiness, the vanilla itself is maybe like the vanilla in some ways can be a bit of a Christmassy kind of note, but like the sweetness does remind me of like sugary treats, or just like sweet Christmas treats, but you're gonna get that smoky and woodiness from the sandalwood. The chestnuts roasting, again by an open fire, and just, yeah, like this stuff is just phenomenal. This does remind me of Christmas without question, and longevity was great, 8 to 9 hours. Fragrance number 7, don't have a bottle, but I do have a travel spray, and that's going to be BOIS 1920 Sushi Imperiale. This fragrance does remind me of warm apple pie and vanilla ice cream. Now you're going to say that's not really Christmassy, but the notes themselves, just like the warm spicy notes of star anise and cinnamon, those do remind me of Christmas itself. But it also has vanilla, so to add that sweetness. Again, vanilla can maybe be a bit of a Christmassy note, but it does add that sweetness to kind of give it like that bit of a Christmas delicacies, that Christmas treats that a lot of us do enjoy when we're kids. But there's also citruses, sandalwood, but also nutmeg. So for me, this is Christmas in a bottle itself, and longevity was 7 to 9 hours. Fragrance number 8, I have stated this so many times in the past that this fragrance is just phenomenal. But Givenchy Gentlemen Only Absolute. This has nutmeg, saffron, cinnamon. So those notes themselves, particularly the cinnamon, does remind me of Christmas. Like when I was a kid, I used to work at White Rose Crafts and Nursery. So if you're from Ontario, Canada, you probably remember that store from like 20 or more years, all right? So I used to work there, and every year they used to bring out these cinnamon scented pine cones. That's what this fragrance does remind me of. It does remind me of a simpler time back then. So there is a scent memory, but there's also vanilla and sandalwood to this one here. This is just a very warm, inviting fragrance. This is kind of like a naughty Santa. So if you are gonna get naughty on Christmas Eve or on Christmas Day, this is kind of, it's a classy fragrance. It really is, but it's a bit of a naughty fragrance for the grown-ups out there. Almost forgot to state, this is 9 to 10 hours. Fragrance number 9, let's go back to the brand of Bond. Bond number 9's New Bond Street. This is Christmas in a bottle for sure. And the bottle itself is very girly. This is marketed as unisex, but in my opinion, it dives more so towards the ladies. This also smells, to my nose, quite similar to Maison Martin Margiela by the Fireplace. And I find that Maison Martin Margiela, that fragrance, is a little bit more masculine than this one here. But guys can wear it. This has a smoky chestnut feel. It has sandalwood, cacao, coffee, and vanilla. So it is a gourmandy scent. So the cacao, chocolate, when you're kids, you know, chocolate marshmallow Santa, or like a chocolate, like Christmas chocolates, right? Like Lindor, or like the ones that Lower Seacourt. So if you're from Canada, Lower Seacourt. I'm going at the top of my head right now, but yeah, this is Christmas in a bottle. The chestnut itself really does give it that by the Fireplace feel. It's a smoky chestnut. You're gonna get the sandalwood, the vanilla, the coffee. So my mother's morning coffee ritual. Longevity, phenomenal, 9, 10, 11 hours. And if you are a girly girl, I have stated this whenever I brought this up, that for me, this is like, okay, yes, it's the Christmas video, but we're gonna get a little naughty right now, okay? This is a fragrance for a single woman in her 20s, living her best life. So she has a great job, but at night she lets her hair down, likes to let loose, party, and get a little bit wild. That's what this fragrance in some ways is, but I personally love it. Fragrance number 10, this one surprisingly does remind me of Christmas. And I did do a recent review, and it was a recent acquisition, so I did make a recent haul video. But the video that I did with Rush, my good friend Rush, my sidekick, was a spur of the moment video. But Mercedes-Benz Select Night. Surprisingly, this does have a bit of a Christmas feel. This also gets lots of comparisons to Tom Ford Noir Extreme or Extreme, just without the price tag. This is like $40 to $60. It's an eau de parfum, so the longevity lasts a long time, like 9-10 hours is what I'm talking about. But there's cardamom, orange blossom, gaiac wood, cedar, sandalwood, lavender, and vanilla. So it's very much, like I would say 85 to 90% Tom Ford Noir Extreme similarities. Just maybe it's a little bit denser than that one there, and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg like Tom Ford. So Tom Ford, they do produce some great quality fragrances, but at this stage, when it comes to their lower end designers, they're better quality than the Privé or the Private Collection, in my opinion. Because like they've watered them down. This is not watered down. It smells so similar, and overall, it's a sexy fragrance, but it's also a bit of a Christmas scent. The spiciness and the creamy vanilla and like the woodiness to this one here does remind me of Christmas. Overall, this one here is definitely a hidden gem. Everyone, that is 10 fragrances that remind me of Christmas or just the holiday season. Any reviews that I've done from these fragrances, they will be down in the description box below. I have not reviewed all of them, but I am working on like pretty much all of them. You know what? I may have reviewed all of them actually. Some of the reviews are old, like I'm talking like 6-7 years old, but some of them are like within the last 2 years, but actually I think I have reviewed all of them. Needless to say, if you like this very video, please make sure to give me one of these. And what fragrances personally remind you of Christmas? Let us know in the comment section below. And what videos to watch next? Well, if you want to see some great colder seasons fragrance, whether they're fall and winter, check out this side here. And once again, if you like this very video, please make sure to give me one of these. It does help with the channel, and it does show me that you like this type of content. Everybody, I thank you for your time. Take care, and I'll see you later. Thanks for watching, everyone.